Something really weird is happening in the mobile app world. A huge fundamental shift is going on. And to really get it, we need to look at a company you've definitely heard of. One that just made a move that, well, on the surface, makes zero sense.
So here's the mystery. Bumble, right? A total giant in the dating app scene. They started doing things that looked like they were actively trying to get rid of their users. And no, this was not some kind of mistake. It was a choice. But why in the world would a company, especially a social app, want fewer people using it?
Okay, so get this. In a recent quarter, Bumble's revenue dropped by 10% compared to the year before. Now, for any public company, a number like that is a total disaster. It's the kind of thing that has investors freaking out.
And if you thought that was bad, the user numbers looked even worse. Their total paying users dropped by a staggering 16%. At first glance, you'd think this company is in a nosedive. But it's not. This is actually part of a pretty radical new game plan. And there you have it, straight from the top. The CEO basically said this wasn't an accident, it was a plan. They realized that just chasing more and more users, even unengaged ones, was actually making the app worse for everybody. So they decided to shrink to grow. All right, so let's dig into this whole shrink to grow idea. It's a complete pivot away from that old Silicon Valley mindset of growth at all costs. They're moving towards something way more focused, more sustainable. It's all about quality over quantity. The idea here is actually pretty simple. Kick out the lower quality, less engaged users to make the dating pool better for the people who are actually serious about it. And why do that? Because those high-quality users don't just use the app more, they also pay more than twice as much as everyone else. It's all about building a community you can trust. And here's the proof in the pudding. While the overall user numbers went down, this key metric shot up. The average revenue per paying user, basically how much money they make from each person who pays, it jumped by over 10%. So yeah, they were making way more money from each user who stuck around, which proves that a smaller, more dedicated user base can be way more valuable. Now, Bumble's story isn't just about Bumble. It's actually a sign of a much, much bigger trend that's shaking up the entire mobile app world. You could say the gold rush is officially over. For years, the whole game was fueled by venture capital. The goal was simple: get as many downloads as you can for as cheap as you can. But that playbook just doesn't fly anymore. The market is packed, it's super competitive, and the real fight now is for the attention and loyalty of the users you already have. And this shows you just how tough that fight is. A whopping 71% of app users just leave. They stop using an app within the first 90 days. Think about that. You can spend a fortune to get a user just to have them disappear 3 months later. That's just a leaky bucket. It's not a real business. So this new reality has created something people are calling a monetization barbell. On one end, you've got the apps with huge volume that make money from ads, like casual games. On the other end, you have these high-value premium apps that promise a real outcome, like a fitness plan or a language course. But that middle ground, the apps charging $5 or $10 a month for some generic service, that's becoming a total danger zone. So the shift couldn't be clearer. The old model was all about hunting for new users. The new model is way more sophisticated. It's about farming. It's about operational efficiency, keeping the users you have, and making their experience so good that they stick around for the long haul. Okay, so if keeping users is the new name of the game, how do you actually win? How do you build an app that people just can't imagine living without? Well, the answer, more and more, is by building a deep, defensible advantage using artificial intelligence. It's what we call an AI moat. This right here is the new playbook for winning in the app economy. It's about having clever ways to make money, mixing subscriptions with one-time purchases. It's about using smart billing tactics to avoid huge fees. And, most importantly, it's about using AI not as some cheap gimmick, but as a core part of the app that makes it uniquely valuable for every single user. Let's just zoom in on that billing strategy for a second. When you pay for something inside an app, Apple and Google can take a cut of up to 30%. That's huge. But the smart companies are now getting users to sign up on their websites instead. There, they only pay a payment processor like Stripe about 3%. That extra 27% they save, that is a massive competitive advantage. Now, for the most critical piece, the AI. It is so important to get the difference here. An AI wrapper is just a thin layer. It basically just takes your question, sends it to an outside AI like OpenAI, and shows you the answer. Anyone can build that. A true AI moat is totally different. It creates a feedback loop. Every single time you use the app, it learns from you, it gets smarter, and it becomes more valuable specifically to you. That makes it almost impossible to leave for a competitor. But, and there's always a but, building one of those AI moats comes with this giant hidden cost. It's a really deep technical problem that gets really expensive really fast. It's something we're calling the hidden AI tax. To get this, think about computer memory like it's real estate. The GPU, which is the AI's brain, has its own special memory. Think of it like a penthouse apartment in a skyscraper. It's unbelievably fast, it's right where the action is, but it's also tiny and crazy expensive. The rest of the computer has storage, which is more like a giant warehouse. It's massive and cheap, but it's a lot slower to get things from. Now, when you're talking to an AI, it has to remember the context of your conversation. It keeps this in its working memory. The technical name for this is the KV cache, but you can just think of it as the AI's short-term memory. If that cache gets lost, the AI basically gets amnesia. It has to go back and reread the entire chat from the beginning just to remember what you were talking about. And here's the rub. That super expensive penthouse memory on the GPU, it's so small that it's constantly overflowing. And when that happens, the AI is forced to forget. It just drops the KV cache. So the very next thing you ask it, it has to do all that work again, rereading and reprocessing everything from scratch. This colossal waste of time, energy, and money, that's the recompute tax. So how much does this tax actually cost? Well, the numbers are just insane. With a pretty typical rate of the AI forgetting its cache, a single high-end GPU wastes $4,800 a month. A month! Just on redoing work it already did. Now imagine that multiplied by the thousands of GPUs running in a data center. We're talking about $1 trillion problem. For years, everyone thought the biggest thing holding AI back was just raw processing power, compute. But it turns out we were looking at the wrong thing. The real bottleneck, the thing that's truly limiting the next generation of AI apps, is memory. It's the ability for AI to remember, not just to think. And that leaves us with this really fascinating question for the future of, well, the entire app economy. As every app out there slowly becomes an AI app, what's going to matter more? Having the coolest looking product with the best features, or having the smartest, most efficient plumbing and infrastructure underneath it all that actually solves this fundamental memory problem? The answer to that is going to decide who the next big winners and losers are.